We're back with another week of This Week in High School Sports. And Steve Willits, it really is spring because the sun's out.
Finally.
Yeah.
The sun wasn't out much earlier this week, and we'll talk about that in a little while here. Put a damper on some of our sports.
Yeah,
no
literally.
pun intended. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's finally out, and we can maybe finally get some of these games and matches in.
Yeah,
We'll
very
see.
good. Well, and thanks to Sean Richards from Red Onion Burgers for sponsoring our show. Be sure to check him out and his restaurant out at Mount Lake Terrace. As always, has wonderful food ready for you, ready to go. And with that, let's talk about the fact that there were a few teams that were able to get games in on the softball and baseball side this last week.
Yeah, unfortunately, some of those games were canceled, but there were a few that got in. One particular game on Tuesday, the Mount Lake Terrace baseball team, and we had the head coach, Andrew Waters, in here last week, got up to a very good start. Matter of fact, they scored 11 runs in the first inning of the first game of the year. It was all they scored. They ended up holding off and winning 11-1 over Mariner. So they're in the win column, and again, not much else happening on the baseball front. Softball, most of our teams had multiple games scheduled last week. Linwood was able to get 2 games in. Everybody else only 1 game, and we've yet to have a victory yet. We know that will change. We've got some very good softball teams, and it's very early in the season. But again, not a great start, and the real winner last week as far as baseball and softball was Mother Nature.
Yeah,
But,
I was just going to say that.
yeah.
What a good
Hopefully this week we'll be talking more about the results on the field and not the weather, but we'll see.
Yeah, okay, good. And what about tennis? Did they get some matches in too?
They did. On Thursday, all 4 of our teams were in action, and 2 of them came away victorious. Edmonds-Woodway defeating Oak Harbor 4-3, and then Linwood defeating Monroe 5-2. Again, it's girls' tennis season right now.
Right.
The boys had their season in the fall with the state qualifiers that will come up later on in the year, May-ish, and I think into early June. But right now, it's the girls' time to play tennis, and like I said, 2 of our schools coming away with victories.
Very good. And we're actually going to talk about basketball again.
One last time.
One last time.
Yeah, the state all-star games took place over the weekend, and we definitely had a few athletes that were participating in that. We're going to start off with the girls. 2 of our Linwood players, and we've got a picture, I think, of them right here. That's Caprice Boston and Kelsey Rogers. So we've had both of them in the studio this year. They were participating in the Washington State Girls Basketball Coaches Association All-Star Game. And unfortunately for the girls, their 3A All-Star team lost to the 4A All-Star team. Final score was 100-84, but nonetheless, the girls doing a nice job. And I think we even have a few action shots here as there's Caprice Boston, who is heading off to Northern Arizona next year to play basketball. Getting off a nice shot over at the gym at Kings High School in Shoreline. And we've got another photo of Kelsey Rogers we're going to put up. Kelsey going up and trying to score a couple points there. But I think the biggest news of the night was the next photo we're going to put up. Kelsey was also named the Basketball Player of the Year. And there it is, holding up her trophy. She was the Washington State Girls Basketball Coaches Association 3A Basketball Player of the Year, an award that I believe Michaela Pivick won last year. So Linwood keeping it in the family, and congratulations to Kelsey, and great job for both of those girls. Been a lot of fun following them for the last 3 or 4 years now.
Yeah, well deserved. Well, and what about soccer?
Oh, and what about the boys? I don't want to leave
the
them out too.
boys. Yes, let's not leave the boys
Yeah,
out.
big night over at Mount Lake Terrace High School, and I had the pleasure of being the public address announcer, so I'm certainly going to make sure we get this one up. Sean Kirk from Mount Lake Terrace High School, he played in the 2A versus 1A All-Star game, and we've got a picture of him here as well in action, playing above the rim as Sean gets a dunk there. Didn't score in the first half of this game, ends up scoring 20 points in the second half. His team ends up defeating the 1A All-Stars 118-91. Not a lot of defense in these games.
No.
It's back and forth, and it's a lot of fun. So a great job for Sean, and also one final picture of Sean along with the head coach for Mount Lake Terrace. That's Nayland Sood. WIPCA, which is the Washington Interscholastic Basketball Coaches Association, is the one that puts this game on every year. And Nayland is the former president of WIPCA, and now he's the executive director. So for him to have that moment with Sean, it was pretty special. And to have it in their home gym, even better. So congratulations to those guys.
Yeah, really, really great to see those honors for our local kids. So now we can go to soccer, right?
Now we can go to soccer. And the Meadowdale Mavericks. We'll start off by talking about them. Team that only won 3 matches last year get their first victory of the season on Friday night, 2-1 over Lake Washington in a non-conference game. Winning goal was scored with 10 minutes left in the match, and we thought, what a great time to bring in a couple of our Maverick soccer players. Here's an interview we had with them earlier today. Soccer season is underway, and the Meadowdale Mavericks boys team picked up their first victory of the season Friday night, a 2-1 victory over Lake Washington. And with us right now, two of the starters on the team, Michael Martin, who is a senior and plays midfield, and then we've got Lauro Armengol, who is a junior and is a forward on the team, also scored the winning goal the other night. Guys, first of all, congratulations on a victory. Getting your first win. I know it was 3 matches into the season, so nice to finally get that W. And I think we got to start by talking about the game a little bit. Always nice to get a win. Laurel, 0-0 game at the half, and I know you and I were talking a few minutes ago, and you mentioned that maybe Lake Washington was getting the better of you guys in the first half. What did you guys talk about at halftime, and what was different in the second half?
At the halftime, our coach Nelson, he really woke us up because we weren't communicating very well during the first half. He just really told us we need to communicate more and play as a team, and I think that really changed the game for the second half.
Now, Michael, I know you guys had a loss to Mariner earlier in the week, a pretty tough one at that. And you and I were also talking. You made some adjustments during the course of the week, some things that you might have learned from that game that you were able to apply to the Lake Washington game. What were 1 or 2 of those things that you guys did differently?
A lot of times it's kind of winning the ball from the drop kicks and goal kicks. If we don't, we're kind of on our heels at that point. So kind of just holding onto the ball and making sure that it's on our feet and kind of on the ground, then we can play the way we want to play.
Mm-hmm. Now, in the game the other night, Cole Jackson, who's only a sophomore, gets the first goal of the game. Laurel, I think you assisted on that goal. Tell me a little bit about that play.
It was just a team play. We started defending the ball. We just went up the field, and we saw a breakthrough, and I just passed it to him and just tapped it in.
So then Lake Washington comes back. They tie the game up, and then with about 10 minutes to go, you get the winning goal. And I wish we could have caught this on camera. When I initially asked you guys about it off camera, just to tell me about the goal that you made, you both started laughing a little bit. And Laurel, you mentioned you didn't even know you scored when you shot it, right?
Yeah, it was just I was just shooting the ball just to see what would happen, and I would think the goalie caught the ball, but I was just jogging back, and I see my teammates coming at me, think I scored, and yeah, I was just shocked.
And Michael, you didn't realize he had scored either, right?
Yeah.
Were you ready for the goalie to boot the ball out after you thought he had it, or what?
Yeah, I was jogging back and I heard the crowd make some noise and I saw everyone running towards Laurel, so I kind of realized that he scored it. So,
And then when I tried to ask you, Laurel, about the goal itself earlier, you said, I asked you, did it go underneath the goalie? Did he drop it? And you, to this day, don't know what happened, right? You didn't even see it. You already turned around to start jogging back.
I was just jogging back. I didn't see the goal.
Okay, so no matter how it goes in, it was in the net, and it was a victory. So nicely done for you guys. Playing, by the way, on a very rainy Friday night. We get a lot of those in March around here, and this year in particular seems to be extremely wet. Do you guys like playing in the rain? Do you like playing in the elements? Are you more of would you rather have it be 65 degrees and sunny out? Michael, what's your preference for what you're playing in?
I mean, I don't mind the rain. When it gets really rainy like that, it sometimes gets kind of cold out there, especially at halftime. You kind of coming out and starting to shiver a little bit because it was cold just kind of standing there. But it's kind of nice playing in the slightly cooler weather because I'm running around a lot, so it kind of allows me to kind of stay cool.
Yeah, what about you, Laurel? Do you have a preference as to what you're
I
playing?
prefer the rain as a forward because, I mean, the shots just like I scored Friday. It was like the goalie has no idea what's going to happen, especially if they let the ball go, it just slides through them.
Yeah, they're the ones that have a harder time with the wet moisture and whatnot. So before I talk about the rest of the team, I want to focus a little more about each of your games a little bit. So I want to do this and have you guys talk about each other maybe. Michael, tell me about Laurel. And, oh, by the way, we got a picture we're going to put up of Laurel right here, a picture that we had in My Edmonds News last year. It's from a 4-0 victory over Everett, or 4-0 victory. Michael, tell me about Laurel a little bit and what he brings to the team.
Lauro is just a great striker to have up top. He's faster than most defenders, so they have to be kind of aware of him and where he is at all times. He's ambidextrous, so he can use his left and right foot equally well, so it makes it a real pain to defend him. Just having him up top really kind of provides the defenders with the task at hand. He can be a target man and have the ball to his feet, or also have the ball overhead, and then they have to run after him, which isn't an easy task.
Definitely. Now, ambidextrous, is that something you worked on? Does that come naturally to you? Is that just the way you grew up?
Yeah, it just came natural to me. I started with my left, and my coach told me you should try to use your right because it could be like a
So definitely a benefit to have,
Yeah,
right? You
benefit,
double weapon there. It's like being a switch hitter in baseball. Now tell me about Michael a little bit and what he brings to this team.
He controls the midfield because it's something we really need in this team. He has a great voice out there, and his whole life he was playing defender, and to step up to the midfield is like a hard task, but he's handling it pretty well.
And so far so good. And he actually assisted you in your goal against Mariner last week. So nice teamwork there. Let's talk a little bit about the team right now. Michael, it's a fairly young team. You're one of only 5 seniors on this squad. Is it something you kind of enjoy, having a chance to play that leadership role? Obviously, it's a little bit of a rebuild type of a situation, but is it something you're having a good time with?
Yeah, I mean, it's fun kind of being a mentor for some of the younger people who are kind of new to the program and wanting to see what it's kind of all about in that sense.
And Lauro, you're one of the juniors on the squad. And again, we mentioned young. I think at one point you guys were even starting 3 freshmen earlier this year. Tell me what it's like to be one of the younger players and what it means for the future for the Mavericks.
I think the future for the Mavs is pretty good. It's in good hands. We have a lot of young players, but they've really stepped up this year, and I feel like it'll be a great year for us.
Now, you both played varsity last year. It was a team that only won 3 games total. The year before that, you guys were 12-4-4, so 12 wins, 4 losses, 4 ties. Michael, you were a swinger on that team, so you went back and forth from JV and varsity. What does this team have to do to maybe get a little closer to the team from 2 years ago versus the team from last year? What do you need to do to improve as a whole?
I mean, I guess just kind of really putting in good work in the off season, and then that'll show during the season. Last year we had a lot of injuries, and that didn't help either. And then my sophomore year, the team seemed to be pretty healthy and kind of maintaining, kind of keeping the same starting squad. Really kind of builds chemistry and allows the team to work as a cohesive unit.
And you got a new coach this year, but he's not completely new. Coach Mike Nelson, first year as the varsity head coach, but he was the JV coach last year. Lauro, does it help to have somebody on the team that at least knows the program and is familiar with it and knows the players a little bit, as opposed to having somebody come in that's just completely brand new to the program?
Yeah, it does. My freshman year I played JV, and he was my coach, and this year being his first year in varsity, he knows the players well. We've played with him for a while, so it does help a lot.
And Michael, what does Coach Nelson bring to this program?
I mean, he brings a lot of energy and a lot of kind of momentum in that sense. He really wants us to kind of work as hard as we can, and he's willing to work with us in that sense.
Looking at Wesco 3A, good news, bad news this year. Good news is that Glacier Peak moved up to 4A, and they've kind of dominated this conference over the last few years. The bad news is that in return you get Snohomish, who tends to have a very strong soccer program. Who are some of the teams that we should be looking out for if we're watching Wesco this year? Lauro, I'll start with you.
I'd say definitely Snohomish. They've done pretty well in the 4A division. Last year I think they got to the final in the districts. But yeah, they're a pretty good team.
And Michael, a lot of good teams from the Edmonds School District, right? I know Edmonds-Woodway and Linwood both had great showings last year. Mount Lake Terrace made it to the state tournament for the first time in 22 years. Talk to me a little bit about what the Edmonds School District looks like right now.
I mean, it's pretty competitive. Me and Lauro probably know most of the players in the Linwood, Mount Lake Terrace, and Edmonds-Woodway teams. I mean, Edmonds-Woodway is looking pretty good. I haven't seen them play or kind of seen what new players they've gotten in. Mount Lake Terrace has a lot of seniors this year, and then Linwood High School I'm not too sure on right now.
So we will find out. Mount Lake Terrace, speaking of which, Tuesday, 7:30 at Linwood High School. Laurel, always kind of a fun matchup when you get to go against guys in the area that you already know a little bit.
Yeah, a lot of those players play on my club team, so we have a little rivalry there in competition.
So it's always kind of a good time to see how you compete and stack up with those guys. Michael, interesting in that you guys don't play your home games at Meadowdale High School. You kind of go back and forth. You play quite a few at Edmonds Stadium, but then you also use Linwood High School occasionally for home games. What is it like to play your games away from the school? I mean, Edmonds Stadium not that far away, but really it's still not in the backyard. Do you have a preference as to where you play your games?
Generally I like Edmonds-Woodway, but I mean, I don't really have a big preference. It's just a little bit different, kind of playing on a different field. But I mean, we don't really mind it because most turf's relatively the same, so it allows for not a big difference.
And so looking at the schedule ahead, we just mentioned Mount Lake Terrace on Tuesday. You've got Stanwood Friday, and that's at 7:30 over at Linwood High School. And then you've got Shorewood, 1 p.m. Saturday at Edmonds Stadium. Laurel, do you like the daytime games? Is that a fun time to play, or would you rather play evening night games?
I like the time, but it's just the back-to-back games, I'm not a big fan of that, but we can deal with it.
Yeah, that's you're turning it around really quickly on that one there. And then Michael, for you guys, again, you've played varsity off and on. This is your third season now. Hearing a little bit earlier that the crowd wasn't necessarily all that great over at the Mariner game the other night. When you guys were winning 2 years ago, I've been told that the crowds were a lot better than they were last year when you weren't so much. What does it mean to have a nice crowd supporting you guys, and do you guys feed off of that energy? And what do we need to do to get more Maverick fans out there to these games this year?
I mean, I really feed off the energy. I don't know about Lauro, but I mean, it's just it's nice having your friends out there, knowing that they're supporting you, and then having people cheer for you when you do something good. I mean, it just kind of brings a different kind of energy and excitement to the game that you aren't kind of used to.
Mm-hmm. Let's make sure we mention some of your teammates here too before I let you go. Lauro, you obviously play offense. Who are some of the other guys that are helping you up front?
We have a sophomore, Alex Farkasowski. He's pretty good on the forward. He's fast, so that helps us a lot. And we have a new player who just transferred from Woodway, Evie. He's really fast as well as strong. He can hold the ball.
So is speed one of the strengths of this team? Is that kind of what you're thinking up front there?
Yeah.
Okay, and Michael, for you, midfield, maybe you can even touch on the defense and goalkeeper a little bit. What is that looking like for you guys?
Midfield's looking pretty new right now. We're kind of small, but we have a lot of talent. We have our center midfielder, who's a sophomore named Cole Jackson, and he's been doing good. And then the outside mids, we have two other Alexes that also play outside mid, and also Jacob Potts, who's been kind of fighting an injury early on in the season. And they've all been doing pretty good in this to start out this season. And then our back line has been doing pretty good. They're kind of starting to get used to play with each other. We have Dominic, who's been playing pretty well, and then David, who's his second year on varsity. And, he's been kind of getting used to because he took some time off from playing soccer. And then we have a new goalkeeper, Kyle, who's actually been adjusting really well to playing in a new level, because, he's 15 playing with 18-year-olds. So.
So he's a freshman, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Always a interesting way to get your feet wet. Baptism by fire, so to speak. Just get thrown right in there as your freshman year. So we will see. Future aspirations for you guys. Michael, we'll start with you. You're a senior. What are your thoughts for next year? What do you want to do later on down the road here?
I'm gonna go to Gonzaga most likely and study their nursing program. I've also thought about doing Seattle U. I still have some time to choose, but it's gonna be one of those two schools.
Okay, definitely. And why nursing?
I've always liked kind of medicine and kind of that STEM research area. It also has an aspect of kind of people in it and human interaction, so it'll be a good combination of science and also people.
Outstanding decision. And then Laurel, what about you? You're a junior, so you've got some time. Started giving a little bit of thought to the future and what you might want to do down the road?
I'd like to continue soccer for college. Been looking at Seattle U for soccer, pretty good school there. And I'd like to major in business and marketing. Yeah,
Seattle U, a team that went Division I a couple of years ago and was in the Sweet 16 just 2 years ago, so that would be great. Again, guys, congratulations. A great victory on Friday night against Lake Washington. And it sounds like the team is much improved from last year, and we hope for nothing but the best for you guys. Laurel, thank you for coming in. Michael, thank you. And good luck to the Mavs this week as they've got 3 big games coming up.
Interesting to hear their perspective about whether they like to play soccer in the rain, especially around here.
You don't have much of a choice around here.
You don't,
not this time of year anyway. And I think anybody who's grown up playing soccer in the Pacific Northwest, you expect it a little bit. But nonetheless, it worked to their benefit. It sounds like the other night, I think Laurel's goal might have been aided by the weather, so to speak. So nice for him. And speaking of soccer, Mount Lake Terrace, they get 2 shutout victories this week, defeating Cascade 1-0 and Granite Falls 4-0. And again, this is a Mount Lake Terrace team that was fairly young last year, made it to the state tournament for the first time in 22 years. So we'll keep an eye on them. And it's a nice segue for us also to give a little promotion here as Mount Lake Terrace versus Everett soccer Friday night. That'll be at 7:30 from Edmonds Stadium. And we will be broadcasting it on SoundLiveSportsNetwork.com.
Very good. It's nice to be back in the broadcast booth again, right?
Absolutely. We're looking forward to it.
Okay, very good. All right, and so now we have...
Track.
Thank you, because I just all of a sudden occurred to me I couldn't remember the order of things.
We knew it was one of those things. The track season is now underway. The Chuck Randall Relays, say that 10 times fast, over at Arlington High School took place on Saturday. A number of schools within the Snohomish County area, albeit none of the other schools outside of the Edmonds School District other than Edmonds-Woodway were there. And I wanted to make it a point to bring up some of the Warriors athletes that performed well at the relays, their first big event of the year. On the boys' side of things, Aaron Richardson won the 110-meter hurdle event in a time of 15.26. Next closest participant in that to him was 1.2 seconds behind him, which is a pretty substantial margin in a 100-meter race. So
Yeah.
Aaron Richardson, a great performance from him. The boys also taking second in the 4x100 relay. That included Jared Yu, also Aaron Richardson, Zach Crumroy, and Chris Tilbury. The 4x800 team for the boys, winners. They took first place. And some familiar names here are guys that we've been talking about for a couple of years now. Matthew Park, Sam McLuhan, we've had both of them in studio, Lucas LaCambra, and John Christian making up that 4-team relay. And then Tyler McAtee, the thrower, he took second in the shot put, fourth in the discus. So a nice job from the boys to get some podium finishes. And then on the girls' side of things, Kia Mackey, who we've also had in studio as a soccer player, she took fourth in the 100 hurdles. The girls' 4x800 team took second place. And again, this is a repeat from last year. Some of the same names we were talking about. Olivia Meter-Yetter, Stephanie Robluski, Sydney Boland, and Yukino Parle all taking part in that event. And then Vernice Keys, a name that we'll probably mention quite a few times this year, second in the shot put, first in the discus. And her teammate, Isabella Yunson, who is also only a sophomore, she was second in the discus, and she also finished second in the javelin. So a number of strong performances from Edmonds-Woodway. Warriors team that's always very good in track and field, and I don't think this year's going to be any different.
Wow, it's amazing that these teams just keep coming back year after year with strong performances. It's great.
They were so tough last year, and when we looked up and down the roster, a lot of sophomores and juniors and freshmen for that matter too. So Warriors are going to be a force to be reckoned with on the track this year.
Okay, so if we're done with track, then golf.
Just one golf note, really.
Yeah.
Golf just kind of getting underway, and again, fingers crossed for the weather, but Mount Lake Terrace and Meadowdale will be over at Snohomish Golf Club on Tuesday, and finally getting the golf season going. And unlike soccer, golf much more enjoyable to play when it's not raining. So we'll hope for some sunny weather and get ready to watch some of our local golfers participate this year.
Yeah, well, and sun for everybody, we hope.
It would be nice.
You never know.
We've earned it at this point.
Yes, we have. All right, well, good. We will be back again next week with all the results, and we look forward to seeing you then.